story and moved on. "Hey, 2 and 3, he smiled when Summer kissed his cheek. "Hey, 4. Rick hopped in the back and Summer slipped in the front. Somehow the nickname 4 had changed when he was younger to 4. Then they decided to number and call themselves the Dynamic 4. Him, Mason, Summer, and Rick. "We hitting the hills this weekend?" he asked. "Yeah, did you get your new climbing gear?" Summer shoved her purse and bag to the floor. "I did, and it's so badass. You wait. I'll be the envy of the cliffs," he boasted. "Dream on, 4. I'll rule you all as usual," Rick hooted from the back seat. "Keep dreaming," Summer told Rick, giving him an exaggerated eye roll. He grinned and pulled away from the house. "Oh, I found a new song." Summer snapped on her seatbelt and reached for his iPhone. "Not that one again," Rick groaned. "What one?" he laughed, heading toward the freeway. "A perfect fuck you to Alex," she said, her voice rising excitedly. "You're finding songs about my ex-boyfriend," he snickered and took the on-ramp to the freeway. Rick lowered his window and the warm night air blew in, bringing the smell of motor oil, strawberries from a farmer's crop right off the 101, and somewhere near the on-ramp, the scent of barbecue drifted on the wind. "Did you have fun at the party?" Rick leaned between the seats. "Put on your seatbelt," he told Rick, slowing down to give a semi-truck time to pass. "Was Joshua there?" Summer asked. Something slammed into his car with the force of a freight train. Summer screamed. Metal shrieked and crunched and ripped apart. Glass exploded and the airbag punched his face. He squeezed the wheel and the door caved in against his left side. The world jerked. The SUV flew into the air and crashed down, jolting his backbone. The world flipped. It was the last thing he remembered. Chapter 1. Roughly 6 months later. Forest. Not many people walked along the shores of Flathead Lake, not at this time of year. Because they're smart, that's why. Only any irrational person would be outside in this weather freezing their ass off. He hunched inside of his heavy winter coat and tugged up the hood when the icy wind tucked in around him, picking up hints of dead leaves and wet snow. He'd only been out there 5 minutes, and he was already done. That should teach him to take a vacation in the middle of January. But Montana had its appeal. Here there were no phones ringing, no reports, no missions, and no peopling. Yet, with all the silence and 2 more days of nothingness to go, he still hadn't come to a decision, and he'd promised Dave one. Quit the FBI or stay. He was to give it some serious thought. He had several notches in his mental poll as to why he should leave, but he was no closer to an answer than he had been 5 days ago. The quiet stillness of winter had done its best to lure him into making a final decision, to let it all go. But in the end it was an illusion. A notion, really. Letting it all go was an idiom designed to send men searching for tranquility, only to find peace a fickle bitch. He brushed the snow from the wood railing with a thickly gloved hand, killing time, staying out in the bitter cold because he'd read somewhere that the outdoors fed the soul. Maybe someone else's soul. He hated the cold. When the ice crusted the hairs on his face and the plastic brace felt like a block of ice, he silently celebrated. He'd made it 9 minutes. Eager to seek the warmth inside and enjoy the quiche he'd made earlier, he turned toward the house. A sudden shift in the air brought his head up and he squinted into the sky, hoping like hell it was only his imagination. But he knew that sound. No way. They wouldn't disturb his vacation, would they? Perhaps it was Dave. Nah, the Secretary of Defense would have called. Growing closer, the low thump of rotary blades beat the air with a pounding pulse, and he lifted a hand to shade his eyes. A black helicopter swooped in, dark against the gray sky, and hovered above the snowy shore. Spinning blades blasted the air, tossing up a vortex of water, snow, and mud as the pilot sat the bird down, the bare-clawed landing gear gripping the uneven terrain of his beach. So much for solitude. 3 big, beefy soldiers jumped from the bird carrying automatic rifles, looking ready to beat down anyone who got in their way.